Becky. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be attempting to make homemade bread in my bread maker that I got for Christmas. I picked the easiest recipe in the book that requires hot water, 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3 cups of bread flour, and 5 teaspoons of fast rising yeast. So what they said to do is to start with the liquid ingredients. So I'm going to do the oil and the water first. I used canola oil just because that was the only organic oil that I could find besides olive oil, and I was afraid olive oil would make it too bitter. So I was trying out the canola oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the 1 cup and 2 tablespoons of hot water. Now this recipe said the water needed to be between 115 and 125 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the hardest part of this whole recipe, was trying to get the right water temperature. So I had to go back a few times and get more water from the faucet and try to make sure that it was hot enough. But other than that, this recipe was really simple. After all the liquid ingredients, you're supposed to add the dry ingredients except the yeast. So at that point, I just added the sugar and the salt and 3 cups of the bread flour.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different. Still you stay cause you feel something real. Get so lost in my moments. Doesn't mean I don't need you. I fell in love with your colors. They kinda tell me what I'm thinking. I fell in love with the way we are and the way we lose it. There's something different about us, and the reason why we stay. We fly around like paper planes. They never know where we will fall. Nobody can see.
After all the dry ingredients are put into the bread pan, you're supposed to form a little well, like a little hole in the flour where you put the yeast. The yeast is not ever supposed to come in contact with the liquid when you're adding the ingredients. So I just used the tip of the knife and made like a little swirl and put a little spot for the yeast to go. After that, that was it. I snapped the lid closed on the bread maker, and I chose the setting for express bake 1 pound, which is what I ended up making. Press start, and it did everything else on its own. It was a little loud, but in less than an hour, I had a loaf of bread, which was pretty amazing. I've never made anything like that before. I've never made bread, never made pasta or anything like that. So I was pretty impressed with how easy it was to put together and how quickly you end up with a loaf of bread. So when it was time to cut it, after it had cooled about 15 minutes, as you can see in the left corner there, I have a little friend, Loki, that's waiting for me to drop something. I let him try it too. My hardest part, other than getting the right temperature for the water, is getting the bread to cut without tearing it to absolute shreds. Now, I do have that serrated bread knife, so that's supposed to be the right kind of knife to use for bread, but it tore it a lot, and I didn't even finish cutting it on camera, but a lot of the pieces tore. What do I need to do to make it where it does not tear the bread to pieces when I cut it? And I let it cool 15 minutes, so that shouldn't have been the problem. It tasted really good, and it was really fluffy and airy and light and everything, but it was just absolute torture to cut it, and it doesn't look the best. I would really appreciate any tips that you have for me on how to cut it better, so that if I make bread again, I will not have it look like a snarled up mess when I'm done cutting it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, taking a little peek into my first time making bread with my bread making machine. I will try to link the machine that I have in the description box in case you guys are interested. Any tips and advice you have for me, I would gladly accept, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.